What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA show. And as we are about to see the beginning of UFC 310 tomorrow, or maybe you're watching this today, and it's happening today. Well, in any event, we're about to see UFC 310, and I'm beyond excited. This is one of the most stacked cards of the year, and that includes UFC 300. Probably not as stacked as UFC 300, but there's exciting fights on the early prelims with Chase Hooper. There's a lot of exciting fights on the prelims, with the feature fight on the prelims featuring Anthony Smith versus Dominic Reyes. That's going to be a banger. So many other great fights. But I think the fight that has really stolen the show is the co-main event, which is Ian Garry versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. And it's stolen the show for a number of reasons, one of which is that they're both undefeated. And that rarely happens in a co-main event like this, where we have undefeated versus undefeated, number one. Number two, they're both tremendously prominent prospects that a lot of people have been talking about. And then the third reason is that Ian Garry has been extremely outspoken, very brash, very confident, and that has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way for whatever reason. And then we have all this nonsense and drama that people have gotten wrapped up with regarding his family situation and his wife and stuff that just really doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. I don't know why there was so much focus and attention on it, but I think there were some MMA YouTubers that picked up on it and started picking on him and bullying him, and that just went out of control. Colby Covington jumped on the bandwagon, continued that bullying, continued to harass him, and that really drove public sentiment, I feel like, against him. And so for a long time, you take the confluence of all these things, this super brash, young, arrogant guy with a lot of great talent, and then you add on to it all these other elements. He just got so hated. There was the fight that he had to pull out because he got extremely sick. He was going to be on the same press conference as Colby Covington. Even though he didn't show up, Colby continued to berate him anyways, almost making it out to seem like he wanted to fight him. And then he never even fought him. So he's gone through this tremendous arc that we see a lot of celebrities or people in the limelight go through, where they come in, they make a big splash, they get famous relatively quickly. And he's not the biggest star in the UFC, but he's definitely a star in the UFC, and he got a lot of attention and notoriety, and then people turned on him. This happens all the time. We see it constantly. It's like people rise to fame. At first you identify with them, or I think a lot of the common people do identify with this individual, and they want to see him rise up, and they're like, wow, man, that's amazing. I'm so happy for him. He came from the same place I did. Maybe I could do something like that. And then this is, again, just my theory. I don't know if there is a name given to this principle or whatnot, but I feel like there comes a point where people stop identifying with the celebrity once they become big enough or they become established for long enough, and then they want to rip them down. They want to bring them back down to their level. I think this is kind of the psychology or the principle that keeps playing out over and over with a lot of celebrities and people that rise to fame or stardom or success or whatever it may be. So I think public sentiment turned against him. People just started tearing him down, hating on him. And yeah, it must have been terrible. Now, one of the things you got to remember is he's only 27. He's super young. And maybe not everybody gets that when I say that, because maybe you're in your 20s. And I can say this now at 44, looking back at when I was in my 20s, and it's crazy the things that you say and that you do, and that if you were to go back and meet your younger self doing a lot of these things or saying a lot of things that you used to say back then, you'd think you were a jerk, and you'd be shocked at how somebody could have these types of attitudes or opinions. So when he was saying a lot of the brazen things that he was saying, he was 24, 25, and posted on this main stage in the UFC with the international audience. And yeah, maybe he said some things a little bit too brazenly. Maybe he didn't, actually. I don't even think he necessarily ever said anything that was so out of line compared to what people in the UFC say all the time. You have to have confidence. You have to believe in yourself. And maybe you have to appear, maybe from the outside, almost somewhat delusional in order to achieve success in this game. And we see it with the likes of Conor McGregor, etc. But anyways, I'm just saying, you take all this into account, and I think we even recognized at the time all this hate that he's been getting for sure was not deserved, but people turned on him. They ripped him apart. Now, what we also see is as they go on this arc, or maybe we can call it almost an upward facing parabola, right? You rise up and then you dip. Now you're dipping down. You reach this very low point. And I think he reached that low point when he was talking about having to turn off the comments on the social media. He was getting threats. He was worried about the safety of his family. You stay there long enough, and I don't exactly know what happens, but it's like the public wants you to take your lashings, be beaten down. And then once you take your lashings, you take your beatings from the public, You stay hidden for a while, I guess. And I'm just kind of observing what I've seen happen many times. And then now all of a sudden, as you come back out of the woodworks and you start to present yourself, all of a sudden people have a different opinion of you. And I think that's what's happened with Ian Garry, is that he's taken his lashings. He's kind of been beaten back. And not to say that, I'm not saying that it has necessarily affected him as strongly as it seems to potentially have, or maybe it would have affected me if I was in his position. But for whatever reason, he retreated, maybe strategically so, I don't know. But now he's coming back. He's got this huge fight, and you can see public sentiment turning in real time. And the reason why I want to make this video in particular is because I think this interview right here with Daniel Cormier, one of my favorite people who, in terms of interviewers, just because he has real conversations, and that's what I like, because you can really see the fighters' individual personalities shine through, which is the most fun part of the interviews. Ariel Helwani does a great job of that as well. But in this interview, you can see that now he's back and he's matured, 24, 25 to 27 now, which is a massive difference. He stepped away and now he's come back. And part of the reason I think why fans are embracing him is obviously he stepped up to the plate to fight the scariest guy in his division, Shavkat Rakhmonov, on short notice when he had a fight scheduled a week later. I mean, it's completely insane to fight a different guy completely. And this is such an important fight, yet he's taken on short notice. I think people are just like, oh, he's real. All that talk, all that stuff that he says, maybe people thought he was brazen, but talking more than, talking a bigger game than he could back up. Oh, now he's backing it up. Even if he goes out and loses, he has everybody's respect in spades. So he's making this amazing comeback, and people are starting to gravitate towards him, I believe. And that's what it feels like. But this interview, I feel like, is the culmination of all of that. In this interview, you see the new, in my opinion, you see the new Ian Garry. You see an Ian Garry that has matured, that has experienced a lot. He's now a father, and maybe a confluence of all these factors. You see almost like a refined confidence that I don't think is going to turn anybody off. And to the contrary, I think it's gonna bring a lot, even more fans to him. So I want to play a little bit of this interview. If you have watched him be interviewed over the years, be the way he was and now contrasted with the way he is now, I think you're going to see a brand new person, a brand new fighter emerge from the ashes that honestly is just extremely likable. Now, this first clip that I want to show you guys is one of the things I think that turned people against him, is when the narrative came out from Leon Edwards' gym. I think it's called Killcliff in the UK, where basically they're saying, oh, he's been kicked. He was kicked out of this gym because he was very arrogant. He was always late. He brought a camera crew, and he didn't fit in with the gym, etc. I think a lot of people also turn on him at this point because they're like, dude, he's so cocky that he's going in to the welterweight champion's gym and he's causing problems there. Like, who is this guy, right? Now he finally explains what happened. And the cool thing is, I'm glad he didn't explain it back then, because when he was getting so much hate and backlash, I think people wouldn't have believed him. But now, after going through all this, staying silent, not saying a word about it, Daniel Cormier asked him point blank. So he didn't volunteer this information, but Daniel Cormier says point blank, what happened? And he gives him a chance to explain. Listen to this. And I think if you're on the fence about Ian Garry, listen to this. And I think you're going to come around and see that he's an awesome guy.
Leon Edwards liked to spin it, right? You know what the truth is with Leon Edwards?
Yeah.
He's mentally weak, and he didn't like someone as talented as me on the mat.
In the room.
Okay, so that's a harsh statement, and you might be like, wait a minute, that's Ian Garry just going off on Leon. But let him explain, okay? And I think there's some reason. I think he has a fair reason to be this upset and to make such a strong statement off the bat, because he probably got a ton of hate. I'm sure he did, on top of everything else from the public, when Leon Edwards was talking negatively about him, because Leon is a pretty beloved champ. So check this out.
That's his truth, and it's his little puppet master, Dave Lavelle, who says it all. Wouldn't even look me in the eye the day I walked to the gym. Be like, what the fuck, lads? Wouldn't even look at it. I've made my decision. That's it, Ian. Don't speak. That's it. I'm all right, cool. But this is the fucking truth. I will tell you this now. Anything that's ever come out of my mouth has always been the truth. Mm-hmm. I don't like to lie. I don't like to tell lies, because if I have to lie, I have to remember the lie. Yep. Life is a lot easier, and my conscience is a lot freer if I just tell the fucking truth. Yeah. So with Renegade, it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all lies. Energy. He's not the right energy. I have a great energy with all those people in that gym. It's ridiculous. Training, all right, I was late a lot of times. You know what happens when you're late at Renegade? You're late, right? You know, you have to clean the mats. I did my cleaning. I did it. I went, fuck, all right, I was late. I did my cleaning. It was nothing to do with energy.
One time Nogueira was an hour and a half late to a training.
So they go on talking about, you know, the different fighters that have been late historically. But I love that. I feel like he's really honest and open about it. And he said he admitted to his shortcomings, saying, hey, yeah, I was late all the time. That was my faux pas. That was how I was messing up. I paid my dues, but okay, maybe they had an issue with him there in terms of the tardiness. But hey, he lays it out, and I love that. And that finally, I think, explains both sides. Now, maybe was it fully just, you know, Leon Edwards had a problem with him because of his talent level or whatnot? I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's something in between. Maybe their personalities also didn't mesh. They didn't like each other, whatever. Leon obviously has more pull and more weight at that gym. But for whatever reason, I'm glad he kind of laid it out straight. And I feel like he did it in a pretty soft way. He just said his piece and moved on. All right, now we're going to move to the next clip, the last clip. I only got 2 clips lined up here. And this clip is about him talking about Shavkat. And I feel like if you look at this or listen to this in contrast with the way he's talked about other fighters like Neil Magny, Jeff Neal, etc., there's a lot of respect here, maybe specifically because he respects Shavkat. But I think some of the maybe exaggerations that he would make, and again, not lies, but like, I remember at some previous press conferences, he'd be like, everybody's only tuning in to watch me. I'm the only guy that people are interested in seeing. And this is when he was lower down on the main card. And I just don't think it was necessarily exactly the reality. Maybe it was what he felt inside. But anyways, I think that sort of disconnect, or at least from the public perspective, that disconnect with what he was feeling and what was maybe really going on, turned some people off. And now you see a much softer perspective for Ian Garry in terms of his opponent, how he talks about him, and even how he's talking about, look, Shavkat is the one that I believe made kind of like a violation of that gym code where he talks about sparring, talks about choking him out, and Ian's very respectful in his response. So listen to this, and I think you will appreciate the way he responds to this, especially if you contrast it to previous responses.
Look, Shavkat, I can confidently say that Shavkat has never gone 100% on me in the gym. I have never gone 100% on Shavkat in the gym. It's always been playful. He's been learning. I've been learning.
Touching.
You see it. You can see it in the video. You know it is. We're not messing. We're not going hard. We're not going aggressive. We're practicing. He's reading me. I'm reading him. But at the end of the day, there's little bits you can try and pull away from that if you want to. Like, does he have better grappling than me at that point in his career? Absolutely, 100%. Am I far superior in speed? Absolutely. But that was 2.5 years ago or 2 years ago. I believe he's going to have evolved. I believe I'm going to have evolved. And we see 2 different fighters in that octagon on Saturday night. That's the beauty. 18-0 versus 15-0. Do you know what I mean? I'm 8-0 in the UFC. He's 6-0 in the UFC. I've beaten more ranked opponents than he's beaten. I've more knockouts in the UFC than he does. But people don't look at it the same way. And that's okay, because I'm not the most loved fighter in the world. But Saturday night when I beat him, you better give me the fucking respect I deserve. You all better give me that respect, because I'm going to go and I'm going to beat Shavkat. I'm going to beat Bilal. And then what are you going to say? Future champion. It's already written, baby. I'm just here to receive.
I mean, you got to respect it. It's dope. He's taking out a crazy challenge. He wants to fight Bilal next. Now, so I don't know. Let me know in the comments if this has changed your mind, but I'm picking him. I'm picking him tomorrow, and I'm rooting for him. Moreover, I want to see him win. This has got me hyped. I think he's done a great job all week in all his interviews, at the press conference even. And I want to see him win. He's totally got my support. I've liked him from the beginning. I think there were moments where I did feel like he was just so overly confident that I didn't know if it was true or not. But I mean, he's continued to impress people and showed up. And I mean, what can you say about this? This is insane that he's taken this fight and willing to step up to this challenge on short notice. So you got to give him his dues. You got to give him his respect. This is incredible. I cannot wait for tomorrow. And let's go, Ian. Now, let me make one little suggestion he's been saying he wants to beat Shavkat, and if he's not injured, go down and fight Colby the next week. Is that even possible? Will the commission allow him to do that? Because a lot of times they'll give you like a suspension, no matter, even if you come out relatively unscathed, like 5 days. I don't know what the suspension rules are, etc. But if it's possible, here's what I think he should do. If he really means what he says, and I think he'll smoke Colby, so I think he can do it. This is what he should say. If he beats Shavkat, says, all right, I want Bilal, but before that, here's my deal. And shout it out to Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin, I am willing to take your place. And this is what I'm going to offer you. Let me get paid my UFC contract money. I will come down. I will take your place. I will pay you whatever your contract it says you are owed for this fight out of my purse. And I want to take your spot and let me fight Colby. UFC, let me go. Buckley, you get to collect a paycheck instead of the sidelines. What do you guys think? That's what he should do. Whether or not will happen, I don't know, but that would be the baller move. And if he fights Colby, oh my God, what a close to the end of the year would be insane. So anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. And if you do like this video, make sure to click that like button. If you want to see more from the 10-7 MMA channel, make sure to click subscribe. Thank you guys so much for joining. And let's have some fun watching UFC 310, and we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.